All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome back. This is week number 7. Can you believe we've been talking for 7 weeks? This is like amazing. And every week there's just new stuff. I'm so excited. So happy May Day. I'm Denise Hyde, community builder with the Eden Alternative. So really glad to be spending the next hour with you and sharing thoughts and ponderings about what's going on and how it's going. And we did send out some questions ahead of time, so hopefully you've been thinking about those. Find your chat box, because that's a way to communicate with each other, and also with me. I'll be keeping an eye on the chat box as we go along, as I'm hoping my teammate Chris will do as well, just to make sure that I don't miss anything. So I do appreciate that. And I have to tell you, like, the universe was speaking to me this week. I don't know about the rest of you, but the universe was speaking to me. And I had some amazing conversations with a few people I know this week, and I listened to a couple webinars yesterday, and just the words that they were using were like blowing my mind. We call it shifting the paradigm. So I wanted to kind of share a couple of thoughts for me that came up this week and that I wanted to bring into the conversation today, because I think they relate to the topics that we have identified to talk about. But one of the speakers, or one of the phrases that I hear all the time when we've been talking and when I've been talking with others, is just how much this pandemic has really revealed all the brokenness in our healthcare system. How some people have access, some people don't have access, some people can afford to get it, some can't afford. The differences between the different ways we provide healthcare services. So people that are getting services in their home versus a bigger environment versus the hospital, and how this is all so very, very different. So I hear a lot. So I was listening to Brene Brown talk yesterday, and she called them fissures and fractures. And I thought that was kind of an interesting idea, because that's like, lava's waiting to boil up behind it. And I thought that was an interesting phrase. And she said, so here we were revealing all these fissures and fractures. And then the other phrase that I hear all the time is, oh, I can't wait to get back to normal. Oh my gosh, when we could get back to normal. And her phrase, she brought those two together in a way that just like blew my mind. So here's this pandemic revealing all these fissures and fractures and brokenness in the system, which the Eden Alternative we talk about all the time. Do we really want to get back normal? Does that even make sense? So that was like, poof, I just went, oh my gosh, no. So I want to just kind of marinate on that, because that kind of blew my mind. The other thing that Renee was on this webinar to talk about resiliency, which is one of our questions. And I describe resiliency as like a rubber band, and you can stretch it, you stretch it pretty far, but when you let go, it goes back. So it's the idea of how do we stretch ourselves in new and different ways, and yet find a way to go back. That is so important, so that we can stretch again and be ready to do that. And so she was talking about, during this time, we need braver leaders, which is always kind of a scary, braver leaders, and courageous cultures. And I thought that was really kind of interesting. So braver leaders and courageous cultures. And she said, fear is not a barrier here. So whatever we're doing, whatever we think could come next, fear isn't the barrier. It's the armor we put on ourselves that actually becomes the barrier. So the more we try to protect ourselves, draw ourselves in, things too small, that armor that we put on, it actually becomes more of a barrier than just us having some fear about the future and what that could look like. So anyway, those were a couple things. And then the other thing that came up in conversation this week is how tuned in are we to really hear the elders? So we've been talking a lot about, where's the elder's voice and all these things we're doing to fill the daily life. And so I just had somebody really challenge me this week and say, how much are we projecting our impression that the elders might be suffering loneliness, helplessness, and boredom right now, versus how much are they really experiencing it? And have we asked them? Or are we just acting on our own assumptions or our own feelings of loneliness, helplessness, and boredom, and not really hearing them? And what gets in the way? Why is it so hard to really hear the other side of things? So that's been what I've been stewing on and pondering over this week. And I am excited to hear what's been coming up for all of you this week as we get into it. So I'm looking here. So Siegel's on the board of directors for Golden West Living in Boulder. Awesome. Oh, and Kephart in Denver. Okay, great. Glad to have you on board. Thank you. Let's see. Star says it's amazing the things that have come to me this week. Flowers and just words I needed to hear. So Star, do you want to say any more about what's been coming into your world this week?
Yeah, I was really down the first part of the week because last Friday, our community health officer, public health officer mandated that our people had to stay in their rooms, that they couldn't come out. And that was just such a downer for me. And I was really struggling through the week. But yesterday, things turned around. I went home for lunch, and on my doorstep was a box from Farm Girl. And I thought, my husband was right behind me, and I said, "Did you send me flowers?" He never sends me flowers. I knew it wasn't from him. But anyway, he said, "No, it wasn't me. It must be your secret admirer." We get in the house, I open it up. It's from my daughter for Mother's Day. Well, Mother's Day is a few days away.
Yeah.
But you know, they're beautiful flowers, a little tired from their travel, but still beautiful, and they smell like flowers, and it just lifted me up. And then I have just found things ever since that keep coming to me that are encouraging me, even though we have Diana, who shared last Friday. She is being tested for COVID-19. And so I'm sitting here going, oh my goodness, if she tests positive, that means we've all been around someone who had it. So we're just waiting on that one. But I am thankful for the things that have come across my path just in the last couple of days to lift me up and get me back on track and get me feeling like, yes, we can do this.
Nice, very nice. Thank you. And that echoes something else that Brene Brown said, was just really having this daily practice around gratitude. And she said, if we really make it a daily practice to be grateful for something in our lives, that it actually starts to rewire our brains and create a different way of thinking. And the other thing she said that I thought was really powerful is that when we express gratitude toward what others are doing, so when leaders are telling people thank you and expressing gratitude toward them, sometimes they think that makes people slack off, but she said it actually makes people double down. Because you're grateful and because they know what they're doing is making a difference, they'll actually be able to give more or feel like they can give more. I thought that was you triggered that for me, Star. So Evie, go ahead.
So just to add to that, another element of managing yourself, and this comes from Buddhist teachings, Carolyn Mace, who I've studied extensively with, live in present time, stay in present time, manage your thoughts. You're not thinking of the past, whatever happened. You're not worried about the future. You're right in the moment and what is happening right now. This has a way of helping you manage your resiliency, your mood, your anxiety. Everything is coupled into staying in present time, and it's not easy to do. It's a phenomenal discipline, but it is doable.
Very nice, thank you. And Kyrie, you are just blowing up the chat box, and I don't know if you just want to talk. Highlight what you've been saying. This is awesome.
It's okay. I think the chat box works, but thanks. I like hearing everybody else.
Okay. All right. So Kyrie says healing is not a way of going back. Healing is a way of going forward and finding a new normal. And she has a link in there for something, a video with Dr. Thomas talking about that. I don't know. I haven't seen Dr. Thomas pop up, but I hope.
Oh yeah, no, sorry. The quote's Bill from the tour talking about mesh. Sorry, now I am talking. And the video is something a friend sent me today. It's a dad telling a bedtime story to a kid in the future about 2020. And it's just really heartwarming about what's possible after this. So I really encourage everyone to watch it and thinking about the new normal. Sorry.
That's good. That's good. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yep. Evie says we need leaders. Chris says, what does our new normal look like? And do we want to go back to what was? Resiliency and how do we listen to the voice of elders? Yep, that's kind of the theme of the day, is to think about those things. Kyrie said, with regards to making sure our elders are key players in our response to the pandemic, Jennifer Carson has been working on this response for the state of Nevada. Oh, I didn't know that. Created in partnership with elders. Awesome. We'll have to, yeah, check out that link, you guys. I bet there's some really great stuff.
It's a phenomenal plan. It is really, yeah, every state should be looking at it. Definitely take a look.
Very cool. Is this something that like we who are passionate about elders could get involved in or share or?
Absolutely.
It's all about filling in the gaps at the community level. So Jennifer Carson has led a push for probably the most ambitious dementia-friendly community development, statewide community development. She's been working in many communities in Nevada, and they use that network to create a framework to really identify where are the gaps, where do people fall through, how do we create this web, you know, for all the stakeholders and the partners and the providers and the community and home-based providers. How do we work together to make sure people don't fall through the gaps? And how do we include elders, people living with dementia, and the process throughout? I'll speak for Jennifer. I've been using it as a model for my work in Montana. So it's
okay.
Really
cool. Very nice. Very nice. Very, very cool. One of the things you said, Kevin, sparked another thought I heard yesterday, which was, again, just these things are coming to me this week. It was really cool. So I was listening to this provider talk. He's from Las Vegas, Nevada, talking about the pandemic and how that's affected the city, and then the work that he does. And he serves elders in the city and in living at home and in the communities and all this kind of stuff. But he said, you know, aging is a lifespan thing. You know, we start aging the minute we're born, and well, actually before that, but anyway. And he says, maybe we ought to look at changing policies and funding for aging, not the aged. I thought, now there's an interesting idea. How do we blend this all together? And it's a lifespan.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, just like stuff. Okay. Lisa says a positive. Do you want to share your positive, Lisa?
We're in this weird transition point that happened right before the coronavirus really hit hard. We were fortunate that we made a big interstate move, and we managed to land. So we've been in this transition, and a good thing that happened for us last weekend was we got our art hung in the house. So that feels really good. But talking about fractures and fissures reminded me of something that we've been struggling with here, and that's that we haven't been able to get appointments with primary care providers because of the COVID-19 issue, and that has meant, excuse me, no specialists, no prescriptions, none of the things that we need, no durable medical equipment. We both use CPAP machines. So I've been scrambling, talking with people back in New York State about our needs, and we also have new insurance. So there's this big disconnect between providers that you can use, insurance that you can use, and something as simple as a move has disrupted that, and then it was all complicated times I don't know how much because of the virus and the pandemic. And I just wonder how many more people are being impacted in even more drastic ways. We're lucky that my husband is an essential worker and is still insured and still working. So we have it easy relative to what other people are dealing with.
Wow. Wow. Mm. Jack, you had a really nice comment. Did you want to say your comment?
Well, I have a number of thoughts that are occurring to me. I was just thinking of how stressful it must be to have an interstate move right in the middle of everything that's going on now. So my heart goes out to you, Lisa, with that move. And we have a healthcare structure that's left over from World War II, when fringe benefits became part of employment. So we've coupled our essential services with our employment, which is, I think this crisis has really stressed. So it's evident that the need for some kind of universal approach is here, and I hope that we can bring it about, and I hope that we can do that in a reasonable way. I do want to say to you, Denise, your dress today is just so cheerful and uplifting, and the room that you're in is absolutely just marvelous because it's so filled with light and air and space, and so you give a lift to us all. And then lastly, you opened by saying, what can we do for the elders? And the elders are doing a lot for the elders, and the elders who I talk with a lot, and they're not all as cognitive as I am at this point. I recognize that, but they are as concerned for you as you are for them. And so what I was put into the chat was that we put together a daily program. Some of us who are more with it, and gradually through residents helping other residents, particularly on the weekends. They do more better on the weekends when the staff are away, because when the staff are away, the residents feel more empowered to be able to help each other. They're helping each other, and that has brought in some of the people who are most cognitively challenged, and they're joining our daily Zoom call now. And because getting into Zoom, it's simpler than GoToMeeting or some of these others, but still it's not straightforward. So they're on that call. And one of the wonders that really developed just this week that has given a real lift to everybody was we discovered that Costco has a deal where for $40 you can get 50 roses or 100 carnations for $40. Well, so residents have chipped in, $10 each, and they split up the flowers, and they're cheering up their homes, and it's amazing. Somebody mentioned this early in today's session. It's amazing how much just having those flowers in the room lifts spirits and makes you feel like this is going to pass, and we're going to be okay, and the flowers still smell wonderful. And and that aspect of it, the fact that flowers smell wonderful, became a major factor in the 14th century in the bubonic plague, because they thought that the aroma from flowers would neutralize the disease. So physicians wore these huge beak-like things filled with flower petals, so that when they were treating those who were stricken, they were breathing the air over the flower petals. And that's why they have those, if you've seen medieval pictures of those beak-like things, that's the reason for it. Well, I've probably talked too much here, so I'll shut up.
No, and thank you for catching my language. I am trying to continue to work on that, so thank you. I love it. No, great. Costco with the flowers, it's awesome. It's awesome. Okay, Ashley, do you want to say what you wrote in the chat box, or you want me to read it?
All I wrote was, I think Evie had said something about needing leaders. Not that it was brave leaders, but just leaders in general. And my kind of thought was, why wait for somebody else to do it when we could do it?
Thank you. Very cool. Very cool. And then Kevin, you a music founder of Samite. Okay.
Yeah, I really I've been doing concerts with my team, just inviting musicians I know to come on Zoom and perform. And I wanted to share one we did last night. It was everyone, the links in there. I put it on YouTube. Samite Mulando is a good friend of Dr. Bill's. He was in the film Alive Inside, and he toured with us. And this was the first time where I just really felt like the technological barrier kind of fell, and everybody was really with Samite. And when you listen to it, the sound quality was really amazing. And it was a gift. Everybody was really, really moved. I wanted to share that. And if anybody wants to reach out to Samite, he's on his farm in upstate New York, working on some soundtracks and connecting with people via Zoom. And if anybody wants to invite him into your community to do any kind of interactions around music and the stories that he tells about being a refugee, a war refugee from Uganda, it was unbelievable. So let me know, let Bill know. We all know how to get in touch with him. It was great.
Awesome. Go, Chris.
I just want to say I've been going to the same music festival for about 26 years, Grassroots in upstate New York.
You know.
Sam Matei is a magical experience. He usually plays in the afternoon, and it is just I just when I start to hear those first notes, I know that I'm about to transcend. It is so beautiful. And then of course to find out he's on tour with Dr. Bill, I'm like, wow. So yes, I just wanted to back up in that cave, and it is a moment for me. Well, many moments when I get to hear Sam Matei. So beautiful.
Yeah.
Very nice. Rain wrote a really interesting comment, and I would love if Rain, you're willing to unmute and share this about the care workers and what we're calling them.
Yes, Denise, it's something that I've been watching from afar here in Cape Town, South Africa. And speaking to our care workers, most of them are petrified. They feel the global anxiety, this existential angst. And a friend of mine did her PhD on projected and as these heroes. You know, you've got to fight this thing. You are a hero. You can overcome it. And finding that it's put.
Oh, come back, Rain. Oh, we lost him.
No, I really wanted to hear that part.
I did. His chat said that, there you are. Are you back? Rain, you're cutting in and out. I'm sorry.
I'm back. Yeah, just, you know, is that better?
Yes.
Yeah, just this you know, this projection onto care workers that they should be heroes. I think, you know, it's putting such tremendous amount of stress onto them. And I know we want to give them recognition through that, but it's the same thing that we do with people living with dementia or older people, that they should be this and they should be wise. And you know, they just normal people, and they're very scared and petrified. So I think we have to be mindful of that, don't you?
Very interesting. What do you guys think?
I think it's good to call that out on May Day. You hear a lot of attention to workers who have found themselves on the front lines, who were like getting paid minimum wage and did not sign up to be frontline workers, risking their lives. I've commented also, I've experienced that with employees who are very much, you know, living in fear and afraid, and, you know, didn't feel they signed up for that. And I found a struggle to really respect that perspective. I think it's important.
Yeah, I think it's interesting because, I just think it's interesting because there are some people who are very proud of the position they're in right now and what they're doing, and they do feel they're getting recognized. But you're absolutely right. It's coupled with so much fear. And I think very well intentioned, we are doing this. We're calling them out as being heroes, but are we putting them on the spot? And I think that is such an interesting thought. Now I'm going, oh no. So yeah, thank you, Rain, for bringing that up.
There's a very interesting study that was done about 3 or 4 years ago on the turnover of employees in the care sector globally. And there is between a 40 and 100% annual turnover of care workers globally in the care sector. And they looked at the reasons why care workers choose this career. Many of them fall into it by default, but they very soon find, if they stay, that it is a calling, and indeed a spiritual calling. Then they also looked at why is there such a high turnover, and the number one reason why care workers leave their jobs is because they are not respected And I think we have to distinguish between respecting people and putting a label onto them that they have to be Superman or Superwoman, because that's not real. None of us is a hero in this instance. We are all petrified. And I think when we put the hero cape on them, it is saying, no, you can't be petrified. You've got to be Superman, Superwoman. I think that's very dangerous.
Thanks for bringing up those statistics, Rain. I mean, I think embracing Eden principles, I hope everyone in this field, in this community has, better turnover rates than 100%. But it's a really important measurement. And I've been focusing on home and community-based care, where it's, the average is 100 and the worst performers are well over 100% turnover. And I do credit having Eden principles, and then the work that I do with liberating structures is an extension of those values that are based on respecting everyone by equally participating. Everyone equally participates. And I do brag that, our turnover rates are 5 to 7% per year. And that, in the field of direct care, it's totally unprecedented. And it completely, it has to be about the values and the respect that we instill. So I will say that this situation, we've lost a few more people who are afraid of this circumstances. And so it's been challenging, an extra challenge, but more important than ever have been these values and the values of centering people and respecting the work that they do.
There we go. Thank you. Thank you. Imelda, hang on.
Some comments with some nuance to everything that's been said already. The word hero may conjure up something that has to be dealt with. But to say that heroes aren't afraid is not true. And I think it's an important teaching point that heroes do heroic things along with the fear that they face. And another thing that came to mind was generally when we receive compliments or acknowledgments of who we are as others see us, I know especially for how women have been socialized, we can't accept it. And so I think it's an opportunity for us to say, this is who you are, whether we use the word hero or not, and mentor them into a new, broader, deeper self-concept.
Thank you. Thank you. Wow. So, where do we go from here? Okay, just gonna process this for a second. Wow. 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 So let's,
while you're thinking, Denise, can I make a comment? It's Cheryl.
Yeah, go for it.
In talking about language, years ago, we worked to change our language from frontline to hands-on. And I know that for many people in this pandemic, that they feel like they are the first ones to be shot. They really are frontline. But I think it's maybe a time when it's really important to focus on the fact that they are the people that are in closest contact with our elders, and that we're not expecting them to be shot first. So just a language thing.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm kind of glad that this is coming up, because it has bugged me, all the language about we're in a battle and they're on the front line and they're our heroes. And I thought, oh man, I don't know if I want to shoulder that. If I was in their position, that feels like a lot to take on. And then you hear about the ER director that committed suicide this week. She'd been giving and giving and giving and spending all that time, and it overwhelmed her. And she'd experienced COVID-19 and gone back to work, and you just think, oh my gosh, are we putting too much weight on their shoulders? So that's what I'm processing, is like, wow.
So can I interject something?
Please, Jackie.
So you know, I made a comment about, you know, hi from lockdown at Park Springs. Staff here, 60 staff had volunteered to live on site for the whole month of April. And now we're going into May. So I joined the team. I did my COVID screening Monday. So I came, luckily I get to shelter in my office now, which is pretty cool because I have a really cool office. But so I've got people that have been here for 30 days, have not been home, not been able to hug their families. The only communication that they've had with people is via Zoom or about 12 feet away from their loved one through a zippered visqueen, you know, across the hallway. And now we have people that have agreed to stay through the month of May. So they will have been here for at least 60 days without going home. And I can tell you the conversations that I've had this morning with them and yesterday and you know, after getting through all the hellos, is that they don't feel like heroes. They feel like this is their calling. And while they miss their families tremendously, the ones that are here wouldn't want to be anywhere else. This is where they're called to be, to take care of people. And our memory care unit right now, I have 8 people taking care of everybody for day shift and night shift. I have 1 nurse. You know, they're working these insane amount of hours, but they're still here. They're still loving the members. They're still doing activities. Even when they're not on the clock, they're in one of the living rooms with the family or with their members. And just being able to join them yesterday, I almost felt like it was an honor that they let me come into this group, you know, to help give them some relief and everything. But they aren't saying that they feel like heroes. What they're saying is that, you know, why wouldn't we do this? This is the right thing to do. And the governor in the state of Georgia yesterday let the shelter in home place expire, except for medically fragile and elderly, and that he extended to June 12th. So we don't know if we're going home at the end of May or the middle of June. And if people stay on to the middle of June, that's what, 11 weeks away from their families and their homes. And that's what people are doing. That's what people are giving. And to me, that's being heroic. To me, that's, you know, I mean, I'm here doing it, but for people who came the first part of the month in April, you know, they're exhausted, but they're still doing it, and they're doing it every day, and they're giving their best, and they are amazing. And, you know, I felt so happy coming in here yesterday and getting to hug them and see them and, you know, support them. And so, I mean, I think that's what we need to remember, is that the people that are really staying on and doing it is a calling, and it's bigger than us. You know, I don't know how many people in here have ever left long-term care and just found yourself coming back. You know I did. And it's a calling, and it's something that's in your heart, and not everybody can do it. So I think if we think of people as heroes in that sense, as opposed to like a superhero and they can fix everything, but that they're really leading with their hearts, I think that makes I think that's a good way to kind of describe what the hero of this is somebody who's just here for their heart, and they're just here to take care of people and love people.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Jackie, you're getting lots of thank yous in the chat box because people are loving this story. I had no idea that was what was going on in your community. Oh my gosh.
That's so beautiful. I know that I know of one community here where they asked the employees if they would volunteer to be quarantined along with the residents, and many stepped forward. You just show a beautiful heart, and so many people do, who serve as thankless soldiers in a difficult time. Crises like this tend to reverse the honor-shame order of society. Suddenly we realize where the true value lies, and it's not necessarily, or often not, in the C-suite. It's in the sacrifices that ordinary people make for the benefit of the least of these among us. What a beautiful story you've told.
Well, thank you.
And Jackie, it's gratifying to know that, I know Donna reached out to me yesterday And it's gratifying to know that she is being heard, that she's having the opportunity to share your story. I know she said there's going to be something on NPR coming up in the near future. I don't think it's there yet.
No, we're coming up with AP next week.
AP, okay, I'm sorry. Yeah, so really watch for it and share it, because they are getting, they're getting the kind of attention that their story needs to get out there to more people, and hopefully that will inspire other stories, because we know that the incredible work being done by your members is, you're not alone in that. There's
many
all over
others.
the country. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
There's many others, and I'm still very proud to say that we are still COVID-19 free for our membership. So.
Denise, this is Cheryl. Could I say something?
Yeah, go Cheryl.
Hi. You see my background?
Yes.
Isn't that the coolest thing ever? That's downtown Sheboygan, Wisconsin, back when I was a little girl. Put that up to remember simpler times. But Jackie, I wanted to say thank you for that story. It's so inspirational. And I remember back when I worked I was an LPN at the time, and it was winter in Wisconsin. And for those of you that know anything about winter in Wisconsin, Minnesota, Michigan, Illinois, it's treacherous. And we ended up sheltering in place at our nursing home because we couldn't get out, because there's over a foot of snow on the ground across everything, and the plows weren't able to get out right away. And I just wanted to say that's so inspirational, because I remember when we did that, and the staff stayed for days upon days. And there's so many homes now where instead of asking staff, would you consider doing this, they're not even reaching out to their own people. And I know that, in my area there, my brother's in a nursing home, and it's just unbelievable. They have these huge rooms that they're not using because their folks are all sheltering in their rooms. And they could ask folks, would you like to stay? Would you like to stay over? Would you like to be part of the community for longer than your shift? And they don't do that. They don't even consider it. And I think your message is so clear, is not only this is a calling for any of us who have worked with the aging population. I know that nursing homes are my first love. I mean, people hear me say that and they think I'm full of baloney, but it's true. I never wanted to work at a hospital. I was offered a hospital position when I became a registered nurse, and I turned it down to stay in long-term care because that's where I wanted to be. And for all of us who do it, we don't do it for the love of the money. Anybody who knows ads knows it's true. We do it because we want to make a difference, because we love our elders so very much. And that's why we love Eden. That's why we love Pioneer. That's why we love Culture Change, because we love our elders so very, very much. And if more leadership would reach out to the folks with their boots on the ground, with their shoes in the halls, they would find out that people would be willing to do those things and reduce episodes of the COVID-19, because you're there and you're staying put and you're helping to make a difference, even if it's a day, a week, 2 weeks, whatever it is. But having your folks willing to stay 60 days, my heart goes out to them. I just think it's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you, Cheryl. Thank you, Cheryl. So this gets to one of our questions. I wanted to see if Leonard wanted to talk. It looks like you're adjusting your camera. So what's emerging within us and within the world that we want to nurture? And what I'm hearing from your story, Jackie, is to remember that this is a calling for people, that their heart comes first.
Very much so.
And I think we could do a better job of nurturing that sometimes.
I think so. And I think also, getting back to the whole hero aspect is, what is a true hero? It's not somebody who can save the day all the time, but it's somebody who's there, and sometimes that's just the most important thing, is just sitting and being with someone. And, that was most of my day yesterday, was just sitting and being, but with members. But, it takes a big heart to be able to just sit and be with somebody and be in relationship and share stories and ideas and share your heart. And I sat with one of my members yesterday that I hadn't seen him in a month, and she just couldn't wait to see pictures of my granddaughter and the kids, and she wanted to see everything I had been doing. And so I spent about an hour showing her all my pictures, and we just sat and smiled and laughed and giggled, and you know, she told me her husband's name about 75 times, and that's perfect. And you know, we just had a great time together, and that's what it's about. You know, she made my heart feel good.
Very nice. Very nice. So Ashley says, I feel that people are ultimately good. We have a desire to help our fellow people. When something bad happens, a lot of people gather together, whether they've been asked to or not. Absolutely. Chris says, I saw an article that spoke to the idea that the frontline workers are not the people closest to the people who have COVID. They are the last defense. And the general public taking precautions to flatten the curve is making sure they have in place the equipment and stuff they need to be there. Evie says when she does cultural assessments. Do you want to talk about that a little bit, Evie?
Sure. When I was working before retirement, and I worked at Vivage in Colorado, we would go into the homes, and we were a culture change organization, and we would go into the homes and do cultural assessments to find out. And it was a list of questions that we would meet with everybody every single shift, 24/7. And invariably, there were huge numbers of complaints, all kinds of complaints, as you all know what they are. But almost every staff member said, I work here because I love the elders. That was a given. And I think that that was such a huge statement, that we manage the complaints, the other management system complaints, but treat our staff as the most beautiful people that they are.
Nice, nice. So that sounds like something else we want to nurture out of all of this, is that the love we have for each other. I'm seeing the power of relationships. Lisa's nodding, yes. That's at the heart of it. I don't know if you want to say any more about that, Lisa.
Well, as we're talking about it, my mind is just going back to Bill Thomas's book, What Are Old People For? How Elders Will Save the World, and that seed idea of relationships and the importance of both giving and receiving of care, no matter what the apparent, and apparent is a key word there, the apparent limitations of the people in that relationship, and how important it is that we honor the opportunities for growth that are inherent in any relationship and in any person. And I think that's what we're learning and being reminded of in this whole pandemic, no matter what setting we're living and working in, or trying to be in. And it boils down to being even more than doing. And I'm just reminded of all the different things that Bill taught us about through that work of his, right to the end of the book, where he talks about his vision for Shabazim and the respect that we give the hands-on care partners. And how important that work is, how we need to elevate it in terms of respect and dignity, and the model for greenhouses, that they be small, and that they be warm, and that they be green. And I think that's coming out of this pandemic as well. And I hope that we don't return to models that are big and cold and institutional, but that we can think in terms that are more small and warm and green, and stay connected and use the technology that's here for us. It's a great blessing, but that we also embrace, again, relationship at that very basic level. So yeah. Book review time.
I know people are popping in. They're loving that you're quoting Carter Catlett Williams, and they're linking to her book, and it's very cool. I want to say Lisa's kind of leading us into like the conversation next week is going to be, what are we learning about space and how we use our space where we live, in our own homes, in congregate environments, it doesn't matter, but just like what are we learning from the setup of the design of our living spaces from this that might be kind of interesting to nurture and think about going forward. Go, Karen.
Yes, I will bring the conversation a little back to what Rain said and what Jackie said, and the discussion about heroes. Today it's May Day. Is it called that also in the US? And we have used that in Eden, Denmark, to bring a small note on our Facebook page relating all the brave work doing, and by these staff members and leaders having so much time spent on their work because it's meaningful to them. They really need to do this because they care for the people living in the nursing homes. So what we try to make a call out together with a lot of unions in Denmark today, especially today, because our joint gatherings have been cancelled due to the COVID-19. And we just write that we hope that their special effort during this pandemic will be remembered when both our government in Denmark will go for what they promised us when they were elected, to reduce the bureaucracy and the salary paid to all these people. They are not highly paid as in every other country in Denmark. So we really try to support these people, but still bringing the equalization, is that the right word in English, into it by saying that these people need to be supported and applauded, but also being brought into mind whenever we get the chance to follow up on all these fantastic experiences. This is at the same time, because people from the nursing homes are talking about a much more quiet period in the nursing home because all meetings are cancelled. They concentrate on being together with the resident. They get a more normal life and build up relationships and communities. So there are so many good effects of this, even though it should not have been under these circumstances. So we really ask so much for everyone to capture their experiences due to what is good from out this and what is the black sides of this everyday lives. I don't know if that gives meaning, but using the day-to-day as an example, that this must be rewarded not only by clapping, but also into the recognition union-wise afterwards. That is so important. And then I just cannot stop thinking that this is also an opportunity to experience, like in your home, Jackie, what Amy Kyoto, we know with the, what is her name? Her company name, you know Amy Kyoto.
Yes, I know Amy.
Yes, yeah, you know Amy. The way when she made her her masterpiece, was it a masterpiece? And she lived in a nursing home together with residents, and it was a huge experience for her and led to all the fantastic thoughts she had. We learned so much from this. Also, what it is like to live in a nursing home 24/7.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the things that we kind of
encourage. Thank you. Yes, Lisa. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. Who's brave enough to move in? Go, Jenny.
You're on mute, Jenny.
There she is.
I got it. Hey, I just wanted to share this to get it off my chest. So thank you for being that space. Sorry, it's been a week. What's happening in our home this week is it's gone from me seeing the isolation in my elders' eyes to me seeing the physical manifestation of that. We have more wounds than I have ever experienced in all of my years of doing this, and I am just distraught. It's not working. Keeping them in their rooms, forgetting about people, not providing that essential care because they're out of sight, out of mind. Ours can't be the only home where that's happening, and as ashamed as I feel to be a part of that, I just want to put it out there that I think that's maybe a bigger thing that's going on in a lot of our homes, and I just wanted to bring it up.
Hey, Jenny, this is Cheryl. This is happening in Sheboygan. My brother's in a nursing home, and they're all in their rooms, and he's feeling very much what you just said. I talked to him, and he just cries because he said he's all alone and they have forgotten the residents. And they stand out in the hall and talk about what's going on, and they don't come in his room. And he thinks the only way they're going to pay attention to him is if he dies. And so know that you're not alone, and that he knows he's a resident in a nursing home, and he knows who loves him and who cares about him. And so your residents know you love them and care about them. They know. They're just old. They're not stupid. They know who loves them and who doesn't. And sometimes we forget that elders have a brain and they see things very clearly. So you have to know that you're there for them and they love that you love them.
Okay. So sending you hugs, Jenny. Sending you hugs. Oh my gosh, lots of comments in the chat box. So we have about 10 minutes left, and I appreciate what you shared, Jenny, because that's been a concern of mine. And again, that's the old broken system. Is that really what we want to go back to, or is there a better answer? And where do we go forward from here? How do we not nurture? That doesn't sound like something we want to nurture. So I love what Jackie said, which was she just spent time being with someone. I'm not going to say elder because it could be anybody, but really just spent time being with someone, and how much that filled her cup. And it's a curiosity to me, are we really acknowledging that sometimes people teach us how to just stop doing and spend more time being? And are we learning anything from that we can carry forward? Anything we want to nurture from that experience?
Yeah, this is Mary Miller. One of the things I've learned is that I've lost the skill of being. And so I'm trying to struggle to get it back. I'm astounded by how I can't get away from my phone. How I feel like a teen almost, like trying to carry on a longer conversation. Like at dinner time, I get bored. And I'm like, what's going on inside of me that is making this happen? And I think part of it is the perpetual worry about what's going on, family, outside, at work. How can I help? It's become such a, it's got its own ecosystem almost in my brain. So what I'm really feeling the need to nurture in myself is just that coming back to just being present, coming back to just having conversations about ordinary things and just, being in the moment. And it sounds so simple, but I've just really been aware of that in myself this past week, that there's been a change inside of me that I need to grab myself back. So to share that.
Thank you, Mary. Thank you. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think if you're a doer, man, and doing is your thing, and I think about what Jenny said, doing is what we expect. It's what we measure. It's what we hire people for. And now being is actually, as Jackie said, probably the best thing we could be doing. And how do we quiet our inside enough to be with someone else? Whether it's physically in the same room or in something like this. I don't know how many of you are multitasking as we're Zooming right now, because it's really hard to let go. And Bill would talk about that being the adult thing. We're all about the doing. And how do we teach each other and give each other permission to be with someone? So. All right, we're down to the last few minutes. Anybody, idea person? Yeah, my mind's always on, Mary. I'm with you. Yeah. Jack says the stereotype is that. Can hear your voice. Oh, okay. Jack, why don't you share that? I don't think that I want to say it out loud.
Well, I grew up in an era when there were gender roles were stereotyped. So what I said is that men. The stereotype is that men hear your problem and try to solve it, while women listen to your heart and try to love you. But of course, that can go both ways. My wife likes to say that we're a little mix of both. And she's the daughter of an engineer, so she likes to jump in and solve problems. So you can't really go by stereotypes, but there is, you know, when somebody's trying to solve a problem, that's their way of showing love. It may not always be what you hope to receive. And there's a time when you just need somebody to care and hold you and let you know it's going to be okay.
Yeah. And that takes a brave leader. That takes somebody who's willing to step up and, yeah. So very cool. Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. You know, it's interesting because a month ago, I was talking about, man, this is going to be quite the experiential learning exercise for our nation, the world, right? I had no idea at that moment how true that would be, because we're all experiencing loneliness and helplessness and boredom. And what are we doing to fill those gaps? And what does value mean to us? Like, where is my value if I can't go into a building to help care partner with people? And where's my value in the role at which I can serve others? And that's hard to wrap our heads around. And there's such a level of helplessness for those that are working, if you will, on the outside, and those who are working on the inside, and we're not physically connected. And just to keep, you know, going over, I mean, you could get a webinar every hour of every day if you wanted one, you know, on what the latest thing to be afraid of is. And I think that, you know, I find it's hard some days to wake up, keep hitting the snooze button. And I told my husband, I said, why are we so tired? You know, what is the exhaustion here? And I think it's depression. I think it's so much has changed. I think it's the anxiety and worry of others that we love, and that helplessness that we can't. And I just want us all to like grasp that and say, this is how many elders feel a lot of the time, and have another level of appreciation for what the environment truly does for people who live in institutional care. And to not forget about this 6 months or a year from now, but to remember how we felt. So we have that level of experiential learning and empathy, understanding that nobody wants to be here. Nobody wants to go, what is my value anymore? Nobody wants to do that. And we're kind of grappling at that right now, I think. And I think that this is a good exercise for us to note, to refine us, to decide what value truly is. You know, I was driving through a parade last week at Seashore Highlands in Gulfport, and like my little girls, we've got the car decorated, my little girls waving out the window, and I'm yelling to people I hadn't seen in a long time, I love you, I miss you, I hope you're doing well. And then I like get completely choked up. And like, it's just not words. Like, we do love elders we serve, and we've been detached, and we're separated right now, and it's so hard. And the value is the relationship, that we hold a part of that relationship and that connectedness. And I hope that we remember this, so that we remember, like, what is that driver, that passion for loving elders? You know, where do we stack value and why? And what our part in all of this is. So I just wanted to share that with you all, because I think that that's very important, that we take this time to readjust, much like what Mary was saying, but emotionally readjust of where we stack value.
Yes. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah. Brene Brown said something interesting yesterday. She said, we're in a marathon, not a sprint. So this is not going to like be done in a week. This is the long haul. And she said, so one good question to ask is, what's a good expenditure of energy right now? Where should we be spending our energy? And then she had this whole analogy. Now, I'm not a soccer player, but she said, imagine, she said, I would imagine that you take your stress and imagine it's a ball. And then she said, sit it down right between your feet. Just set it down, read the field, make the call, and then run the play. And she said that moment of just really stepping back can be really helpful in terms of our building resiliency, that we're not just like, don't just keep going, stop, set the ball down, breathe, read the field, call the play, and then run the play. So I thought that was a really good picture to do it. But She said we're building new muscle strength. So Mary, what you shared about like just getting away from the phone and being, you're building new muscle, new memory muscle that you probably want to carry forward. And so the more you practice that, okay, I can set this aside and be, the actually better we're going to be. So I loved the comment, Karen, you were saying about how the elders are liking the tenor kind of calming down, and that people aren't like so doing. And there's a lot that people who are in that being phase of life, whatever their age, is really, they have so much to teach us. And sometimes we just go, get away, but let's welcome it. Let's welcome it. So, all right, we are at the bottom of our time. Jill, are you still on?
I am. Hi.
Okay.
Thank you everyone for being here. I wanted to share 2 quick things with you. And thank you everyone. I've been not participating as much. I've just been listening and taking things in, and what a beautiful conversation. I'm so glad we all have this space together. Next week, we'd like to focus on a bigger kind of future picture, and 2 architecture firms that are wonderful and are supporters of the Eden Alternative, SWBR and Rob Simonetti out of Rochester, New York. A lot of you know him. Rob's done a lot of the design for greenhouse communities. And then Kephart, which is based here in Denver, and Len, who was on the call earlier, I think he left, will be joining us. But Kephart's another amazing architecture firm, and they want to hear. So one of the things that's so cool is an architect explained this to me, that a building is the hardware, and the culture and the operations is the software. And if you have both, wow, right? One, and you can have the software without the right hardware, but if you have both of those things together, you really start to get the kind of operations, culture, you can really maximize things. So they want to ask some questions next week, and we'll send those out to you with the notes from this. Denise, if we can do that. But just some basic questions about, you know, what would you do differently if you were to do a renovation or to build a new building, and think about, you know, independent assisted living, nursing home, wherever you are, or even in your own home, what are some things that can help them? They really want to help this field moving forward in any way that they can. So what have we learned from the pandemic that we can apply? So I hope that you'll all be a part of that. I think it'll be a really great conversation, very forward thinking. And also think about things, what could you do if you don't have the money to renovate or build a new building, because there are also opportunities there. So that's one thing. I hope you'll all come with some ideas for them next week. And then next week, we have 2 Facebook Live shows. I hope you'll join us. Monday at 1 o'clock Eastern is Jack York from It's Never Too Late, and Angie McAllister from Signature. Don't miss that. That'll be amazing and fun. We're going to be talking about being connected. And then next Wednesday at 3:30 Eastern, we are talking with Bob Kramer, who's the founder of Nexus Insights and is the strategic advisor to Nick. And he is a very big thinker, and we're going to be talking about the future of aging and aging services. So I hope you'll join us for all of these. Thanks, Denise.
All right. Thank you, guys. Oh my gosh, prayers and hopes that you stay safe and healthy. And thank you so much for being here and so much sharing today. Really appreciate it.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye.